Hi, I'm Kay Johnson. I'm the director of the National Alliance for Targeted Parents, and this is Brain Awareness Week. And there's no better brain to take a look at than the brain of our teenagers, since teenagers are often the ones that get dragged into high conflict family court, and there's a reason. Adolescents are not adults because adolescence is a stage of development, the stage of development between childhood and adulthood. Teenagers might look mature because they mature biologically quicker than they do cognitively or psychosocially. So they may look mature, they may sound mature, but functionally inside, their brains are a white hot mess embroiled in the stage of adolescence to transition them from being a child to being adult. A simple model of the brain, and this is half of the brain. This is like my right half of the brain. This is looking inside here. I hope that you can see this. This is the inside of the brain, and a simple model of the brain shows us that we have three major systems. We have a reptilian brain, or what's called a primitive brain. It's the oldest part of the brain. This functions for survival, helps us, keeps us breathing, keeps all of our systems running. Then there, deep in the center of the brain, there is a system called the limbic system, or our emotional social brain. And that develops later than the reptilian brain. And in here is where we house all of our basic emotions: love, hate, fear, grief. It's also where our fight and flight response is, our response to fear and our response to stress. And also this plays a significant role in memory and learning. So this is a huge part of our brain that we want to make sure is functioning healthy and normally. The newest part of the brain is this outside part called the cortex or the neocortex. We can call it the intelligent brain. This is on the outside, and this part of the brain is used for advanced, higher order thinking skills like reasoning and logic. In the front, I didn't really color it in, but in the front part of the cortex is an area called the prefrontal cortex. This is hugely important. We call it the executive control center of our brains, and it is responsible for judgment, impulse control, problem solving, organizing, planning, and also where the personality is developed. An adolescent doesn't have any of the hardware or the software in the limbic system, the prefrontal cortex, or the cortex in order to function like an adult. Because the purpose of adolescence is this massive transition, emotional, cognitive, and physical, behavioral, psychosocial transition. That's why adolescents are difficult to understand. And the adolescent stage of development begins at puberty and doesn't end until the mid-20s or late 20s now. The last part of the brain to be developed is the prefrontal cortex. This process, this major transformation that takes place over these years that we call adolescence, virtually requires an entire systemic pruning and regrowth, modification, and transformation of virtually every part of these two brain systems so that they can interconnect and interact. Before an adolescent can think like an adult, they have to learn so many things. They have to integrate their gender and sexuality. They have to individuate from both parents. They have to be able to regulate their own emotions, use flexible, abstract thinking skills. They set and maintain their own boundaries. They need to perceive the world in reality and reliably in reality, and also pretty much develop their own personality. Adolescents lack the hardware and the software to think like an adult. I'm going to give you two examples. Mature decision making requires that the intelligent part of the brain analyze different aspects of a problem and an issue, understand and compare alternatives, and be able to prioritize the most important issues. Adolescents think and process information through their limbic system, which means it's emotionally charged, without the benefit of being able to analyze or compare or understand the consequences of their decisions. They cannot make adult decisions. Secondly, in order to control our emotional and behavioral impulses, the prefrontal cortex has to be fully developed and integrated with the limbic system, because it's the prefrontal cortex that overrides the emotions in the limbic system to just do it. It is the prefrontal cortex that puts the brakes on impulsive behaviors and impulsive thoughts and emotions. And since this prefrontal cortex is not developed until the mid-20s, adolescents are prone to make poor, immature judgments. They engage in risky and self-destructive behaviors. And like a shiny nickel, they are really drawn to things that that are going to give them large rewards. In summary, adolescents are not adults. They cannot make adult decisions. Adolescence is the developmental stage where they learn how to do that. The amazing adolescent brain, half-baked, but working. Thanks for listening. I'm Kay Johnson, the National Alliance for Targeted Parents, and this is Brain Awareness Week.